Imagine what happens when one of the world's richest and most influential men walks into a small, family-run sushi restaurant that's struggling to stay afloat. This story of unexpected friendship will not only inspire you, but it will also spark a desire for something much deeper than just sushi. It was a little after 10 a.m. when Elon Musk emerged from a meeting at Tesla in Fremont, California. The meeting had gone on longer than expected, diving deep into engineering blueprints and discussions about the future of sustainable energy. His stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since noon. For a man who often joked about working more hours than there were in a day, skipping meals wasn't unusual. But that night, he felt the hunger pangs more acutely. As he drove his Tesla Model S silently through the quiet streets, he noticed a small restaurant with a red lantern glowing softly in the evening breeze. The sign above the door read, Hoshizora Sushi. The warm light streaming from the windows contrasted with the quiet street, and something about the place felt inviting. Elon decided to stop. Upon entering, you were greeted by a delightful mix of savory aromas. Fresh fish, warm miso, and a hint of sake. The space was modest but immaculate, with a few wooden tables and a long counter where a man in his 60s, wearing a crisp chef's uniform, worked with precision. A woman, probably his wife, moved gracefully between the tables, her smile lighting up the room as she served the dishes with genuine calm. Only 3 other customers were present, a young couple sharing a tray of sushi in silence, and a man in his work uniform enjoying a bowl of hot ramen. Elon took a seat at the counter, not wanting to draw attention to himself. The chef greeted him with a slight nod, not interrupting his work. "Good evening. What would you like to eat today?" the chef asked in a soft but confident voice. Elon looked at the menu on the counter and ordered the chef's recommendation, a sushi platter. As he waited, Elon felt relaxed in the quiet rhythm of the restaurant. The soft sound of knives slicing, the hum of the kitchen, and the occasional murmur of conversation created a peaceful atmosphere, a far cry from the high-level meetings and incessant phone calls that dominated his life. The chef placed the tray in front of Elon with a proud smile. It was a work of art. Thin slices of tuna, salmon, and yellow fish arranged like a mosaic, decorated with delicate shiso leaves and a piece of fresh wasabi. "Enjoy," said the chef, focusing again on the next dish. Elon picked up his chopsticks and took a bite. Fish melts in your mouth. Its freshness and quality are unforgettable. For a moment, he forgot everything that had happened during the day. As he ate, his gaze returned to the elderly couple. The chef's movements were slow but weary, his hands bearing the marks of decades of hard work. His wife's energy never wavered, though there was a serene calm in her eyes. It was clear that this restaurant was their life, a labor of love that likely came with its share of challenges. But why did they continue? The question lingered in Elon's mind as he finished his plate, setting the stage for what would become an unforgettable evening. Development. Elon zoned out for a bit, enjoying the last piece of sashimi as his eyes roamed the details of the small restaurant. The walls were decorated with faded photographs and handwritten notes from customers over the years. Some were simple thanks, while others told stories of birthdays, first dates, or silent celebrations shared in that space. Each note carried a sense of gratitude and wonder, a testament to how much the place meant to the people who knew it. The woman waiting tables, whose name tag read Akiko, paused for a moment to refill the man's water glass with ramen. Her voice was soft, but her laugh held an unforgettable calm as he thanked her with a joke. Elon noticed how she moved with careful efficiency, balancing plates and bowls as if they were a natural extension of her, even as each customer interacted with her in a friendly manner. Meanwhile, the chef, whom Akiko affectionately called Hideo, remained focused at the counter. His hands worked with the precision of practice, slicing tomatoes into perfect, uniform pieces. His face was lined with concentration, but it was the kind of focus that came from decades of mastery, not from the rush of trying to keep up. There was something calm, almost meditative, about watching him work. But as Elon continued to watch, he noticed the little details that others might miss. The chairs were a little worn, their edges frayed from years of use. The light above the counter flickered slowly, trying to maintain its brightness. Even the kitchen equipment seemed to have acted gracefully, with creaks and clunks that spoke of countless lovingly prepared lunches. Elon wondered how much effort it must take to keep a business like that alive in a world dominated by fast food chains and delivery apps. He could imagine the challenges they faced: rising costs, shrinking margins, and a market that often favored speed over quality. But there they were, pouring their hearts into every dish, every interaction. A family of 4 walked into the restaurant, their laughter filling the space as they sat by the window. Akiko greeted them with the same genuine smile she'd shown everyone else. Elon couldn't help but admire the way she treated her customers. She treated everyone like an old friend. He remembered how rare that was. In a world increasingly driven by efficiency and profit, places like Hoshizora Sushi, where food was made with care and people were treated with respect, were becoming harder to find. He felt a pang of respect for the couple's resilience and dedication. The family's youngest child, a boy no older than 6, walked up to the counter, fascinated by the way Hideo arranged pieces of fish on a plate. The chef looked down and gave the boy a quick smile before offering him a small pineapple roll to sample. The boy's face lit up, and his parents quickly thanked Hideo for the kind gesture. Elon smiled silently. It was a simple moment, but it spoke volumes about the kind of people Hideo and Akiko were. They didn't just run a restaurant. They created a space where people felt valued. As he watched, Elon couldn't help but think that these moments of connection were exactly what the world needed more of. He realized he had the ability to do something about it, even if in a small way. He began to form an idea that would leave a lasting impact not only on the restaurant, but on everyone who walked through its doors. Climax. Elon stood up from his seat, catching Akiko's eye as he walked over to the counter where Hideo was preparing a colorful pineapple roll for the family of 4. The chef looked up, surprised but polite, as Elon approached. "This is some of the best sushi I've ever had." "It wasn't bad," Elon said sincerely. "You're an artist." Hideo smiled humbly. "Thank you. We do our best." Elon hesitated for a moment, then decided to go ahead. "You've been doing this for a long time, haven't you?" Hideo nodded. 35 years. Akiko and I started this place when we were newlyweds. It's been our home ever since. Akiko, overhearing their conversation, came over with a cup of tea. "Our children helped out here when they were younger, but they grew up and moved away. Now, it's just the 2 of us." Her voice was slow, but Elon could hear the fire of pride and sacrifice in her words. "I can see how much heart you guys put into this place," Elon said. "That's rare to see these days." Akiko smiled quietly, her voice a little muffled. "That means a lot. Thank you." Elon looked around the restaurant, watching the family laugh over dinner and the man with the ramen chatting with Akiko about the weather. Something clicked in his mind. A realization that this wasn't just about good food. It was about preserving a space where people could connect, share, and feel at home. He walked over to Hideo and spoke softly. "I'd like to pay for all of tonight's dinners, discreetly. Can you do that for me?" Hideo hesitated for a moment, his voice barely above a whisper. "All of them?" he asked. "Yes," Elon replied, smiling. "Don't make a big deal about it. Just let them know it's taken care of when they go to pay." Akiko's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening. "That's incredibly kind of you," she said, her voice shaking a little. "It's nothing," Elon replied, muffling. "Just a small way of showing appreciation." But he wasn't finished. After a pause, he continued. "Actually, I'd like to help with something else. Your equipment. It looks like it's seen better days. And those lights. They're not the most efficient, are they?" Hideo and Akiko exchanged glances, unsure of where he was going with this. "We're looking to make some changes," Hideo admitted. "But, the costs add up." Elon smiled. "What if I took care of that for you? New kitchen equipment? Energy-efficient lighting? Maybe even some solar panels for the roof? It'd save you money in the long run." Akiko looked like she might cry. "We couldn't accept this," she began. But Elon held up a hand to stop her. "Consider it an investment in keeping this place alive," he said. "What you've built here is special. People need places like this. I just want to make sure it continues for another 35 years. Hideo's eyes filled with emotion as he extended his hand. "Thank you," he said, his voice soft with gratitude. "We will never forget this." Elon shook Hideo's hand, feeling a rare sense of accomplishment that had nothing to do with rockets or electric cars. As Akiko hurried to the kitchen to compose herself, Elon returned to his seat, blending back into the quiet rhythm of the restaurant. One by one, the other customers approached the counter to pay, only to be greeted by Akiko's soft announcement, "Your dinner is paid for tonight. Enjoy." Their reactions ranged from surprised disbelief to giggles of delight. The family of four clasped hands in thanks, while the man with the ramen laughed openly, shaking Hideo's hand before leaving. Each person left with a lighter step, carrying the calm of the gesture with them. And as the door closed behind the last customer, Hideo and Akiko huddled behind the counter, their expressions a mix of gratitude and amazement, wondering how one night could have brought so much kindness. Conclusion. The restaurant fell silent as the last customer left, the soft creak of the door closing quietly. Akiko stood at the counter, her hands shaking slightly as she adjusted the small flower vase on the counter. Hideo wiped his hands on a towel, looking at his wife. Their expressions were disbelieving, but unforgettable. Did that really happen? Akiko whispered, her voice breaking slightly as she looked at her husband. Hideo nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting the same disbelief she felt. Did that happen? Elon, still sitting at the counter, offered them a small smile. "You deserve it," he said simply. "And I meant what I said about helping with the changes. Someone from my team will be coming in the next few days to work out the details." Akiko pressed a hand to her neck, visibly fidgeting. "We don't know how to thank you enough." "Keep doing what you're doing," Elon replied. "That's thanks enough." The night could have ended there, but news of that night spread faster than anyone expected. One of the customers, the man who was quietly eating his ramen, shared the story on social media before heading home. His post read, "We just had the most amazing experience at Hoshizora Sushi. The hospitality of the owners is second to none. But tonight, Elon Musk paid for all the food and offered to help improve the restaurant. This place deserves all the love and support we can give." The next morning, the post went viral. People from all over Fremont and beyond began sharing their own experiences at Hoshizora Sushi. Many recalled Akiko and Hideo's warm smiles, thoughtful gestures like the free coffee refills, or the small dishes Hideo would make for the children who visited. Suddenly, the small restaurant that had quietly served the community for decades was in the spotlight. Local social media picked up the story, and people began flocking to the restaurant, eager to experience the magic for themselves. But it wasn't just about curiosity or celebrity. Inspired by Elon's gesture, other acts of kindness began to pour in. A local store offered free delivery to the restaurant for a week. A nearby carpenter volunteered to build new shelves for the pantry. Even the local farmers market community pitched in, promising fresh ingredients at a reduced price to help the couple keep costs manageable. Hideo and Akiko were worried but deeply touched. Every person who walked through their doors seemed to take with them a piece of the kindness that had shone through that night. Regulars brought friends to share the experience, and newcomers promised to come back. For Elon, it was never about the publicity. He didn't even comment publicly on the story when asked by reporters. For him, the real joy came from knowing that he had helped preserve a place where kindness was the foundation. One evening, about a week after his visit, Elon drove by the restaurant again. The once quiet street was bustling with activity. Families were gathered outside, talking and laughing as they waited for dinner. The soft light from the restaurant's windows had never seemed brighter. As he watched from his car, a thought crossed his mind. Small acts of kindness, even those that seemed insignificant in the grand scheme of things, had a way of growing into something much bigger than anyone could ever imagine. And at the center of it all were Hideo and Akiko, continuing to do what they do best, bringing people together one meal at a time. A week later, Elon found himself sitting at the kitchen table in his Los Angeles home, a rare moment of quiet in his typically hectic schedule. A notification flashed on his phone, another message about Hoshizora Sushi. He swiped it open and was greeted with a photo of Hideo and Akiko standing proudly in front of their restaurant. A shiny new sign above that read, "Hoshizora Sushi, 35 years of love and tradition." The caption read, "Thanks to the incredible kindness of our community and a very special guest, we've been able to make some incredible changes. We're ready for the next 35 years." Come join us for dinner and be a part of our story." Elon smiled to himself, turning off his phone. He hadn't been back to the restaurant since that night, wanting to let the couple enjoy their newfound attention without the added pressure of his presence. But he had followed their journey closely, watching as their small business grew into a beacon of hope for the community. He reflected on the simplicity of the act, paying for a few meals, offering a few resources. It wasn't a grand gesture by his standards, but the impact it had had was undeniable. The couple's hard work and dedication inspired him, and in turn, their gesture inspired others. It was a reminder that kindness, when shared, had a way of multiplying far beyond its original purpose. Elon pushed back from his chair, his thoughts turning to the countless small businesses across the country, each with their own story, their own struggles. Not every act of kindness had to be monumental to mean something. Sometimes it was the little things. Recognizing someone's hard work, brightening their day, or simply being there in the moment that made the biggest difference. The next day, his team was instructed to access other small restaurants and community hubs offering similar help, without strings attached. It wasn't about grabbing headlines. It was about preserving the soul of communities and encouraging others to do the same. As the setting sun cast long shadows across his desk, Elon wrote a quick message on social media, one of the rare times he felt compelled to share a personal thought. The world runs on hard work, resilience, and kindness. Supporting those who keep this alive is the least we can do. The post gained traction almost immediately, triggering a wave of conversations about the importance of supporting local businesses and paying kindness forward. People began sharing their own stories of acts of kindness, inspired by what happened at Hoshizora Sushi. And while Elon didn't respond to the flood of comments, he read them silently, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. He wasn't looking for gratitude or recognition. For him, true success was knowing that he had played a part in something much bigger than himself, a movement driven by compassion, humanity, and the simple but profound idea that kindness can change lives. As he closed his computer that night, one thought remained in his mind. If every person took a moment out of their day to lift someone else up, imagine the world we could build together. And this is the story of a small act of kindness that grew into something much bigger. If this story inspired you, take a moment to think about how you can support those around you, whether it's a small business in your neighborhood, a friend who needs a helping hand, or even a stranger who needs a little kindness. Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories that remind us of what really matters. Together, we can create a better world, one small act at a time. If you enjoyed this video and it gave you something to talk about, watch the next one. The next video will give you even more value.